An algebraic model for parameterized shape editing. Regularity is a common property of man-made shapes. In this work, we present a new method for high-level shape manipulation that maintains regularity. We analyze the input shape for regular patterns and derive possible degrees of freedom that we use for interactive shape manipulation. First, we detect regular patterns in the input shape. Two-dimensional patterns are represented by a set of one-dimensional patterns forming a boundary polygon. Each one-dimensional pattern consists of an origin, a generator, and a number of elements. In our model, we keep the generator constant and allow only the origin to move or the number of elements to change. We consider large polygons as continuous regular patterns and represent them in the same way as discrete two-dimensional patterns. Additionally, polygons can include regular patterns such as the window outlines shown here. We continue to decompose the input shape until only rigid parts remain. Now we want to manipulate the shape by changing parameters of regular patterns. In order to keep the shape consistent, we link adjacent patterns using linear constraints. Here we constrain the difference vector between the last element of the red pattern with the first element of the blue pattern. For each adjacent pair, we create a linear constraint, which results in a very large but also very sparse linear system. We now compute the basis for the null space of the linear system and express the space of possible solutions by a linear combination of the spaces. Lambda is a direct parameterization of the degrees of freedom defined by our model and allows rapid exploration of the shape space. Our shape editing model contains two additional types of constraints: inequalities to ensure positive length variables, and a quadratic energy term containing soft constraints by the user. We project these high-dimensional constraints into the low-dimensional parameter domain, which results in a much smaller optimization problem. Modification of a pattern now corresponds to changing the parameter vector lambda that will always result in a consistent shape by adapting dependent patterns accordingly. To construct a manipulated shape, we create resized versions of regular patterns and reassemble them based on the pattern origins specified in the parameter vector. Now we show some results of our method. The user can manipulate the shape by moving simple point handles in space, and the system automatically provides a feasible solution that is close to the user's constraints. Please note that the number of elements in a pattern changes when the building is manipulated. Regular patterns can interact in complicated ways, and manipulation of these shapes presents a difficult challenge for traditional shape editing software. In this example, moving the rooftop requires adaptation of the entire cross-gable structure. In this shape, the width of the wall is coupled to the length of the staircase, and thereby also affects the height of the building. Manipulating the width automatically changes the height and vice versa. In comparison to previous work, the algebraic approach is much easier to control and does not suffer from bending artifacts. A major advantage is the clear separation of regularity constraints from user constraints. In the previous method, both types of constraints affect the same least square system, which means that regularity can be traded against user constraints, forcing the method to distort the shape. The new method does not introduce these artifacts. It always provides a consistent solution that is close to the user constraints. Thank you very much for your attention.